that line cracked me up. In some ways, it's right on the money. Then, weeks later, it oddly made me realize why I love storytelling so much. At its best, it's not out to razzle-dazzle you at any cost. There's no adversarial relationship with the audience. They're not people leaning back in their chairs, drinking their 2-drink minimum, signing an implicit contract that basically says, you better make me laugh. There is no volley of anger like I've seen in comedy clubs, just a crowd of people who want to hear what you have to say, and in some cases might be stepping up to the mic right after you to share something about themselves. Sometimes it's the funniest thing you've heard, and you're rolling. Other times, someone is getting attacked by a shark, or going to space, or sitting next to their crashed car and reevaluating their life, or wondering how they got caught up in a world of white-collar crime, or just dealing with an average Tuesday evening and trying to make sense of life like the rest of us on the planet. How can you not walk out of that room a changed person after feeling that connection? In my early years of hosting the Moth Story Slam, I never gave much thought to the numbers the judges and the audience hold up to score each storyteller. The scoring has always seemed, in the spirit of fun, a device used to get the audience involved and to add some friendly stakes to the show. And early on, it never seemed to me that the storytellers were any more concerned with the scores than would be, say, a few friends throwing darts in a bar or playing poker for acorns on a camping trip. Even when we weren't great on stage, and I'm also pointing the finger at myself here as a host who sometimes tries to tell a story in the top or middle of the show, it was just part of the fun because we were all there for each other, laughing or shrugging it off when a story went sideways on us. If nothing else, when I bombed something, I figured maybe I had been of service. Hey, maybe someone in the audience who was too nervous to put their name in the hat and share a story heard me and thought, what am I afraid of? I'm not going to do any worse than that guy. At some point, as the years started racing past, I noticed storytellers caring about the scores. Sometimes people would get angry if they didn't get the score they thought they deserved. Storytelling was getting a lot of press at this point. The Moth podcast was up to tens of millions of downloads a year, and tons of other great new storytelling shows were popping up around the country. And it was around this time that I started noticing a different kind of people coming around, a more competitive type of personality. I was vexed, frankly. It had always seemed like the most humble, fun-loving thing in the world to me. I mean, even the name of it never sounded cool. Storytelling. How could you develop an ego or agenda to become internet or podcast famous? Actual things, swear to God. It's a little like wanting to have the biggest house on the tiny home scene. It seemed like there was a phase when suddenly people who you could tell were seasoned actors or comedians were there. It felt like they were just looking for a way to get another gig on their resume, hanging around just long enough to see if this was going to be the thing that got them on TV somehow. Oh no, the cool kids were coming around. I felt I was developing a way of sussing out people who were the real deal and not just coming around for a hot minute to use storytelling as a stepping stone. That had to be right about when I met Matthew Dix. And here's the twist. Not only could you tell he was the real deal, the kind of person you wished was a family friend back home, but he somehow made me see that it was okay to want to work at getting better at this stuff. He's the person I would watch whenever I was lucky enough to be hosting a show he was in. He taught me that trying to get better at storytelling also meant trying to get better at being a friend, or a son, a boyfriend, a brother, or just a better person. He's a guy you can tell has been as heartbroken as you or me or anyone else carrying a heart around on Earth, but he manages to set that aside in the background and subtext of his stories. It would be easy for a guy like Matthew Dix to get on stage and tell an emotionally overwrought story to manipulate listeners into feeling something. Oversharing and emotion porn are super fast ways to get a reaction from an audience in the heat of the moment, and they wear off just as fast, leaving a mental hangover in their wake. But Matthew Dix forgoes the aforementioned tricks and instead
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.